Hi guys, it's Krishanti with Krishanti.com, and I'm going to talk today about something to be aware of if you're learning how to do readings and healings on other people. And the biggest thing about this, the biggest thing that gets in the way of you being super psychic is your fear of being wrong and the need to be right. And of course that makes sense. It's a valid fear. Like, you don't want to be giving people advice that's inaccurate or not tuning in. You want to be super tuned in to the person. But what I've noticed in working with people and training people and in doing sessions when I was learning too, is that you can't always rely on the person that you're reading to give you valid and accurate feedback. And if you put it all in their hands and let them be the ones who decide how psychic you are, you're setting yourself up for a potential letdown. And here's a story about that. I was training somebody several years ago who I really love. She's a very gifted healer. And even though I told her not to, she had the habit of asking the person she was reading if they knew what she was talking about and if that made sense. Now, one of the basic rules when you're training someone to be psychic and you're guiding them through readings is that they can't ask for feedback, and the person getting the reading ought not to give feedback during the session, because if it's not like glowing and really positive, it'll totally just shut that person down. And that's what happened. My student was like describing something, and she asked the person she was reading if it made sense. She's like, does that make sense to you? Do you know what I mean? And the woman was like, actually, that makes no sense at all. I really have no idea what you're talking about. Nope, makes no sense. I don't know what you're getting or where that's coming from. And I was like, oh my God, no. I was horrified. Like, that's the worst thing you could do, especially to someone who's learning. And of course it shut my student down, and she was being naughty. She wasn't supposed to ask anyway. It was like almost a disaster. I steered it kind of back to a nice kind of space. But what was interesting to me, because as I was holding the space for my student, I was tuning into the woman as well. And what my student was getting actually did make a lot of sense. But she, the woman receiving the information, wasn't ready to hear it or wasn't in the space to open up to it. So she shut down. And in that case, it's like asking for that kind of feedback from somebody that isn't able to give it, doesn't do you or that person any good. And so if you're, again, learning how to do readings on other people, be aware that sometimes people won't have a flash of insight or of understanding or an aha moment about what you were saying in that reading until weeks and weeks later, potentially a year or several years down the line. Another thing is people have selective hearing. So you might just say some little sentence that triggers them, and they only think about that one thing, or you know what I mean? And then they hear it wrong, or if you're lucky, they hear it right and everything's amazing, and then they remember and everything's just perfect. But that doesn't happen all the time. So basically, just trust what you're getting. As you know, the intuitive mind is very creative, very imaginative. It lives in the realm of imagination, and it's a beautiful creative space that doesn't, it can work with the linear, like analytical mind, but it's not verbatim like that. It's very allegorical, very metaphorical. And if you give over to that and just let your imagination run wild and be silly, there's a reason why with clairvoyant training we work with pure color. At first, it's just color. It's like, what's the color of this person's block or this person's primary emotion regarding the situation, or what's the color of this situation as it pertains to the person? And then you work straight out with that. Well, you can't say black is wrong. If you get a color black, no one's going to be like, well, black, what? You know what I mean? So that's where the clairvoyant training is very much about, okay, what color are you getting? What vibration is it? Let's go delve deeper into it. What pictures are related to that? And when it comes to again, dealing with pictures and colors, there is no right or wrong. A picture is a picture. And that whole psychic clairvoyant school of thought is that we live in a picture-based reality. And so by tapping into the picture and then doing a healing on it to release that, you're helping that person heal and grow. But taking it back to the whole premise of this whole discussion that I was talking about, you cannot rely on that person to tell you whether or not you're doing a good job. You have to trust yourself and keep practicing. The more and more you practice, I was stumbling because I was thinking, like, what has helped me is getting that positive feedback. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If people are constantly telling you they don't get what you're saying, like something's off, but I've never seen that happen. So just trust that too. Like, I've never seen someone just be off all the time. It doesn't work like that. So just keep practicing. Write down everything you get if you're really doing this on a daily basis, which I would recommend you do. That's what I did, and I still do every day to keep up that skill set. And for more info on intuitive development and spiritual growth and psychic development, subscribe to this or check out Krishanti.com. Also, before I go, if you have questions about things or you'd like me to talk about certain things, I can look into them and then do a little chit chat on here. Email me at ask@krishanti.com, or you can put it in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. And that's all for now. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.